The truth about OnePlus, where it started, where it is. Now, OnePlus was founded in 2013 by two ex-employees of Oppo, and it took a year later for them to finish making their first phone and release it, and that was the OnePlus One, actually. Now, when this phone was first created, it was created to compete directly with the Google Nexus phone. Its plan and its goal was to steal some market share from Google Nexus. Now, the goal of OnePlus was to create a phone for the Android fans that ticked every box that the Android fans needed. And these were great design, powerful spec, the fastest and best software at the lowest price. This was exactly what Android customers wanted. And OnePlus delivered. Now, OnePlus eventually, with Oppo, went public in 2016, and it was valued around 70 billion. So OnePlus had backing in terms of having the funding to go forward and keep creating. This is 4 to 5 years after they first made the OnePlus One. So OnePlus, in terms of time, has always had the funding and the backing to compete even when margins are very tight. And that's why OnePlus had stayed competitive, and also it didn't go into obscurity, because it had the backing and the funding of OnePlus and Oppo coming together for this IPO. It's basically one big company. Now let's look at how OnePlus has grown since it first started through its IPO until now. Now, OnePlus has expanded into many regions, and that expansion has caused it to grow substantially from when it first began in 2013, 2014. It expanded to North America, to Europe, to China, through Asia and to India. And these markets are massive markets. And by OnePlus going into various different markets, it was able to increase its sales, and it grew because of that. And it grew to the point where in 2019, it basically was competing with Apple and Samsung in total. And that is pretty impressive. From a little company that started to be an enthusiast company, the OnePlus 9 especially pushed OnePlus over the mark, which is very impressive. As every company has challenges, let us look at OnePlus to see some of the challenges they have had. It's impossible for a brand to go through such a long life cycle without having any challenges or any PR disasters that we could look at and think about. In 2014, around the OnePlus launch, OnePlus had a campaign that was a little bit disastrous. It had a campaign called Smash the Past campaign. What this campaign was is you would send a video to OnePlus of you smashing your old phone, and you'll be able to buy a OnePlus phone for only $1. Now, this kind of spread like wildfire, to the point that people who were not even eligible to get this promotion put in place were smashing their phones. And OnePlus had to change the messaging, because a lot of people were destroying their phones with the thought that they would get the OnePlus, but they could not even be entered into this. In total, the number of entries were about 140,000 entries of people smashing their phones and also just sending in their phones. OnePlus did eventually change the messaging, which basically said if you donate your old phone, then you could receive a £1 Android phone from OnePlus. In total, 140,000 people applied for this, and they only gave a few hundred OnePlus phones for $1. So in total, most people were not able to get that $1 phone. So this was a slight PR disaster just at the start of OnePlus's career. But this would not be looked at as what people think about when it comes to OnePlus. It did not destroy them. I think the biggest failure or the biggest PR disaster that OnePlus ever had would be around the OnePlus 8. Now, when this phone came out, it had a special camera, a camera that could be used for good and for evil. And this was the X-ray feature on the OnePlus 8. Now, this X-ray feature could see through plastics and some clothing. And when OnePlus realized how this could be used, and also the public's viewpoint on privacy, especially when the OnePlus 8 came out, they quickly updated on the OnePlus 8 to remove this feature. But this was one of OnePlus's biggest PR disasters, creating an X-ray phone in terms of what could people do with that kind of power in a phone. Where is OnePlus now? I would classify as OnePlus kind of reaching market saturation. OnePlus has steadily grown to a very high level, to the point where now it's competing at the same level as Samsung and Apple. And when we look especially at India, for example, these are emerging markets. OnePlus was able to grab the first place positions of the most popular phone in India, competing with Apple and Samsung in 2019. And this growth that we've seen, especially in India, has been significant. In July of last year, OnePlus also announced that Oppo and OnePlus are going to merge their hardware and research department. What does this mean? This basically means that from now on going forward, OnePlus and Oppo phones will basically have the exact same hardware. OnePlus has also expanded their range. It's no longer just phones. So right now, they have the OnePlus 9 and the OnePlus Nord. They also have the OnePlus earbuds and earphones, and they also have the OnePlus Watch. Now let's conclude this. The truth about OnePlus. OnePlus is slowly dying. OnePlus began as an enthusiast phone and began at a really low price, under $300. And slowly over time, they've increased the price to be more competitive. It went from an enthusiast phone to a flagship phone. It used to be called a flagship killer when it first came out. I remember going to college with my friends, and one of them just had the OnePlus, and I was just geeking out saying, wow, you have this phone? Like, this is impressive. And everybody was like, this beats the iPhone, it beats the Google, this beats the Samsung, and it's like half the price. Wow. And now we've seen that decline in terms of, because it's gotten so big, it can only get to a certain level, because now it's changed the market that it's going into. It's going to the flagship range, and we can see that OnePlus was desperately trying to get back to that enthusiast, audience with the OnePlus Nord, dropping the price point that much. But OnePlus is here to stay. It's here to stay. Oppo, OnePlus, same company. They're massive. They're going nowhere. What could OnePlus do in the future to potentially increase their growth? I would say stick to what you're good at. It's good to diversify into various aspects in terms of increasing sales. You can upsell. When someone buys a phone, they can buy the earbuds, or maybe they can do a bundle. If you buy the Nord, you get the earbuds and this and that, and increase the price a little bit. But OnePlus should stick to investing their money heavily into researching what customers are looking for. I know that right now Oppo and OnePlus have come together. I know they're founded basically in the same company, but OnePlus should consolidate and really, I would say, separate from Oppo in a way. In terms of, if you look at the latest OnePlus Nord and OnePlus 9, they have another similar phone in the Oppo range, and OnePlus is slowly dying. Enthusiasts are no longer looking at OnePlus. I know Oppo has various other phones, but OnePlus is now at the level of, I would say, market saturation. For now, unless they do something different and drastic. The OnePlus 7, that was drastic. The OnePlus 8 and 9, not as drastic. OnePlus should keep innovating, but innovating only by listening to what customers want, instead of following what everyone else is doing. Thank you for watching.